at Wildwood, New Jersey. But most people from Baltimore always go to Ocean City. We went a few times, but my parents preferred Wildwood, New Jersey. It's just like Ocean City, but it's a little bit bigger boardwalk and things like that.
I was real little when we went, but I remember going to the boardwalk, and they had like places where you could go play arcade games and stuff. And so yeah, cool.
I know. And Wildwood, they have all these rides.
Shall we start the hangout then?
Yeah, sure, yes. Sure.
And then you keep talking, because that's what happens. We end up having conversations beforehand, and then I usually have to break them up, because otherwise we have like an hour before we get going. Anyway, I'll just, right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, we're back today with our lovely Amy and Jon The Morgile. Hey, hey, hey.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, it's been I speak to Amy all the time, but it's been a few months not speaking to you. Probably a few good months again, but it's good to speak to you, Mr. Morgile, Jon.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Yeah, we had some drama occur, but you know that's the way things go, isn't it?
Oh.
How are you coping with the lockdown then?
Well, honestly, it's a bit of an inconvenience. You know, you can't. It's illegal to go to church. That's kind of a trip. No sort of, you can't go to a pool hall and shoot pool. And the other day I was sitting outside my hotel room playing my guitar, and some people started gathering around. And I think there was about 8 or 9 of us at one point, and then the police rolled up and basically warned us that we're lucky there wasn't 10 of us, otherwise we would have been in deep trouble.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And of course, you know, all the restaurants are closed, so you can go through drive-thrus, but if you don't have a car, you can't walk through the drive-thru. So we do some ordering.
Everything's back to front, though, isn't it? Because you can go outside to have some exercise, but you can't go outside and have some exercise, and everything's back to front all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stay at home, but go out and get your shopping, or go out for a walk, but stay at home. And all weird.
Yes.
It's quite ridiculous.
Yeah,
and self-isolation makes it worse for people.
Oh, it does.
Well, you know, I've been, you know, pretty well isolated anyways, before all this started. But, you know, it's nice to know that you have the option to go, you know, I don't know, bowling or something. Even though I don't do much bowling, it's nice to know that I could if I wanted to. And, you know, I really don't understand how people have just laid down, especially in America where you've got so many constitutionalists. You know, the freedom of speech and the right to assemble are a pretty big deal. And they've basically, with the stroke of a pen, they've done away with our right to assemble. And so it kind of proves that what they call rights are mere privileges granted to us by the oligarchs, right?
Exactly.
You know what, though?
Yes.
I found it today, because, you know, so many posts get sent to me, and it's this lady talking, basically, with the national emergency. It means that the government, through FEMA, have everything. They have aeroplanes, the gas, the communication, the media communication. They have it all. They have everything.
Yeah.
And it's called something else now. We're going to be coming out of this thing called New World something or other.
Yes.
Yeah. And, you know, it was, this was something that we all, as truthers, are coming, but I really didn't expect it to be so easy for them to basically manufacture consent for this narrative. right? So like 6 months ago, if you would have told people that it's going to be illegal to go to a baseball game or to go to church, they'd have laughed in your face. But of course, they manufacture this fear regardless of how deadly the virus is or not. That still, in my opinion, is still not. It still doesn't warrant taking away our rights. And a lot of people, they believe that they need to sacrifice their rights to be safe, and that's a shame.
Yes, it is. I agree. There's no reason, whatever the threat is, that they should be telling people that they can't go out or they can't assemble. I just don't believe in that. Whether it's a virus or anything else, you don't tell people.
Especially as you can't catch it from anybody as well, on top of that one.
Right. And people are just so fearful that, they are buying it hook, line, and sinker. But I've done a lot of research, and the coronavirus has always been around. It causes the common cold. But I think they've been doing a lot of manipulation in the labs to
well, actually, Amy,
yes.
John, Amy's the one that found it on Facebook, aren't you, Amy? When it was like one of the years that they're using, you found it.
Yes, that's right. It was a nurse, and she was she had made a video saying how bad everything was, what a war zone, and they don't have enough of supplies and everything else. So I checked the nurse on Facebook, and the hospital she works for, she had that posted. And when you clicked on that link and you went down a ways, in 2017, this hospital had posted all about COVID-19, and it was in 2017. But they're even coming out now with information that the bill that was signed to, provide all this money for this coronavirus thing, that this was the bill was first introduced in January of 2019, so a whole year ahead. And then what they did, they just changed the name. So that's out there too. But
we see sort of thing all the time. I mean, just one example, you go back to September 11, a year or two prior to that, a Project for a New American Century, like they call themselves PNAC, came out with a document called Rebuilding America's Defenses, where they basically spelled out the framework for the whole catastrophe. And the thing is they don't really care if they get caught in that respect, like complicit in planning this stuff. As long as they get their agenda done and get everything pushed through that they want, they really don't care if 10% of us catch them, because 90% of the people just will never know. But yeah, they're pretty sloppy when it comes to that. I mean, you find that sort of thing all the time, don't you?
Yes, and really it's all out there. If you look at the Rockefeller manual, or if you look at the World Economic Forum documents and World Health Organization documents, they really have spelled it out for us. All you have to do is look, and you'll see where the whole thing has been planned. And I try to share links, with people to just
it's not
take
just
a look,
that as
and
well.
you'll see.
It's that we're in a national pandemic. They take all your rights away, and the government own everything. They own, at the moment, right now, they own all the aeroplanes, all the media, all the oil, all the gas, all the people.
I've been seeing where they're saying that when Trump signed the bill, that he turned everything over to FEMA, so that FEMA's in control of everything, because, like you were saying, Karen, with that it's a state of emergency, and so they're trying to say that our rights no longer apply,
and that you don't even have a president anymore. He signed it over to FEMA.
Yes, that's what they've been saying. But I'm proud of a lot of the Americans. They are having a lot of protests. They have one protest. I can't remember where it was, but they brought their weapons, and the media, even Fox News, which is a little bit more conservative, and Sean Hannity was saying that was just awful that they brought their weapons, but really they weren't doing anything wrong. It wasn't a show of force. They just have a right to carry their weapons, and they came to the protest with their arms, and so that would be their right to do. And there was a pastor in Mississippi, and he was holding a drive-by church service, but the police got wind of it, and they sent 20 police cars, and the pastor talked to the police, and he said that he has a right to, he had a note from his lawyer that he had a right to have this drive-by church service, and the police officer said, your rights have been suspended, and the minister said, oh no, he said they can't. He said, because our rights comes from the Bible, they come from Almighty God, and from our First and Second Amendments. You can't suspend our rights. So he stood up to the policeman.
It kind of defeats the whole meaning of the word right if it could be taken away, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it's more like a privilege instead of a right. It's more becomes a privilege.
It does look like, if you want to go abroad, or you want to go to work, or you want to buy this, or you want to buy that, you've got to have the flipping injection. You've got to have the little certificate saying you've had it.
Yeah, I think that's where they're going with this, and it's kind of ironic, and I'm sure there's plenty of anecdotes like this, but a buddy of mine, Kevin, in North Carolina, his wife works for a hospital, and so every year she has to get the flu shot or she'll lose her job, so it's mandatory. Well, within the last year, she got a flu that was really bad, like she was on the brink, right? And she had had a flu shot that year. Now, her husband, Kevin, never had a flu shot, and they lived together, of course. Never got it. And of course, she didn't get it. And so what that tells me is something that, we already know, that the flu shots are ineffective, they're harmful, and but that's, I do believe that's the way they're going. They want to try to force these things on people. They've already done it for hospital workers and for the school children.
They've done it to babies, haven't they? They've done it to babies.
Yeah. So that's the way they want to go with it, and a lot of people are going right along with it, hook, line, and sinker, but not this one, honey.
Me neither. And I do see that a lot of people, when I watch videos in the comment section, they're saying, no way are they taking the vaccine, nor are they taking the test or anything. So it's
Hey, do you know something else that's really crazy as well? I find really crazy that, say, 8 weeks ago, when you went to casualty, you had to wait 6 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours to see a doctor, and now you can walk straight in. And the hypochondriacs didn't go to the hospital. I know they're told to stay home, but they weren't expecting everybody to stay home, were they?
Right. And I just wish people would, stand up a little bit more and just not go in with the whole crowd mentality. Like, I hardly ever go anywhere. Like you were saying, John, I'm pretty much stay a homebody, I guess. But I want the option. I don't want to be told that I have to stay in. I want that to be my choice.
Especially as we're actually very peaceful people in the first place. And they're making it look like we're herds of animals that can't be trusted and the whole thing. It's a bit heartbreaking, really, isn't it, that we've got here? Overnight, almost.
Yes.
One thing that I do something good out of this is that, so, us as truthers and flat earthers and stuff, used to being censored and shadow banned and basically blackballed, demonetized, and just pretty much shut up. Right, we're being censored, and we've been complaining about it for years, and people have been calling us conspiracy theorists, and there is no censorship. But then, of course, the heads of Google come right out and say that's exactly what they're doing. But when it's to flat earthers and to conspiracy theorists, that's one thing. But I know out of California, there were a couple of medical doctors who have been treating COVID patients and going through the statistics, and they did a mainstream media sort of expose where they're proving that the CDC and the WHO numbers are entirely grossly inflated, almost whole cloth fabricated in terms of the deaths. And even these doctors who are going through scientific data and sharing that with people, they got completely taken off of YouTube with that video. And so when things like that happen to doctors who are really scientifically studying this, when that happens to them, people are going to say, well, wait a minute, maybe YouTube is censoring people. And so
because you know why? Google have just taken over YouTube.
Yes.
Well, I thought they had been for a while.
Well, let's just say maybe it's more official. And do you know something else, John? I know that you're a bit more into this. I was a bit shocked, and I put it out in January, and I put a video out with it in it again today. But I found that NASA are into cognitive engineering. They want to basically take over the world. They want to be doing local government, flying people, dealing with the post. They want to do it all. You think they haven't even managed to go to the moon yet, and they want to take over the earth. But cognitive engineering, is just disgusting.
It is.
Well, really, since day one, I believe that's all that NASA's been about is, mind control. It's they were never about space exploration in the slightest, because clearly space doesn't exist. And so what they're into is manipulating people's minds into a state where they can be controlled to the next step in the agenda. And it's a shame most people can't see it, but when they're in a frenzy with this sort of thing as they are now, I think a lot of people are waking up to the fact that there's something amiss with our government agencies. Yeah.
I think so too, and even people that started out as skeptics, or in other words, that they believed in the whole narrative, now as it's played out and they're seeing that the rules don't even make sense that they're putting out there, I do see that a lot of people are starting to wake up, and my family is the worst. I'm friends with some family on Facebook, and they are just buying into the narrative, and I have shared so much information, and obviously they either ignore it or they don't want to believe it, but I'll try to put out a really good concise video that explains it.
If people wake up from this, it's like discovering flat Earth all over again.
That's right.
It kind of is. And, another thing that I've seen sort of a common denominator with flat earthers is a lot of people, with the point when they became flat earthers, they were at a point in their lives when they were kind of stuck in their house. Like me personally, I was hit by a car on my motorcycle back in 2014, and it was during that time after the accident where I became a flat earther, because I was sitting at home on the computer all the time. And so in that regard, people have extra time on their hands. They don't have their busy schedules to worry about. And so, if they have any sort of thirst for truth in them, they are going to find it.
Hey, you know something else, John? Do you know something else? When we found the truth, or more of the truth, they were algorithms to find it, but there isn't anymore. So maybe all the people that are going to wake up have woken up, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it is. It's bad, and I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Like I've noticed where anymore, if I log on to YouTube and just try to find a video that I want to watch that's in the not even the suggestion on the pages that you're looking at without searching, I'll tell you what, I can't find anything that I want to watch. And then when I search for a topic that I want to watch, I find the opposite of what I want, right? So, like, if I'm searching for flat Earth, I'll find 100 videos debunking flat Earth, right? So, yeah, they really do have a stranglehold on the digital media, the social media, and now they also have a stranglehold on physical gatherings. And so
I know what you mean. I know what you mean, John. Like, in my inbox, right, in my homepage comes this film from 1967 explaining exactly what they're doing to us today. They actually make the news at least a year in advance. That's why they don't have any feelings in on any of this stuff, because whatever they're making, they haven't got there yet. So yeah, that's one thing. And it just goes on and oh my goodness, the layers of this thing.
Yes.
You know, I can't even look at the footage to see it's real. I see the footage as a cartoon.
Well, and you know, once you've been on this end of the censorship as we have, and like, for example, if you have a really good point that that is backed up with evidence and is proven, and you shout it from the rooftops, it doesn't go anywhere. Like, it gets boxed in and it gets shadow banned. But when there's things like this COVID-19 that all the news media is shouting from the rooftops, and you can't go on a website or YouTube without seeing 10 videos about it, that right there to me is a big red flag that I'm not necessarily going to believe it by default, right? Because if they suppress the truth, which we know that they do, and they amplify lies, which we know that they do, anything that they shout from the rooftops like that, I just automatically put up my defenses and, you know, maybe research it, but it's not even usually necessary, because they're just, they lie so much that
Yes.
that's all they ever do. And so, I mean, you would have to be a bit naive to trust compulsive liars.
The post I found today, which I mirrored on Unscrambled, the lady goes through all the laws which are now changed because of this. They own everything right now. They've taken us over.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another person that is really got his hands in everything is Bill Gates. And I kind of had a feeling that, I mean, I know he's involved in an awful lot of stuff, but then I was watching a video yesterday by a channel called Hard News TV 2. Karen mirrors her videos sometimes, and she really went investigating into Bill Gates. And that man, he controls almost every facet of our existence. He controls our health. He's even got his hands in our religion. He is involved in the prison system. The lady made an entire outline. It was very well done from all the information she gathered. And he has got his hands in just about every aspect of our world and all our agencies and everything. And he is a very, very dangerous man.
Did y'all know? Did y'all know that Bill Gates' father used to be the head of Planned Parenthood?
I just heard that the other day. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's crazy.
These people need to be,
they
need to be psychoanalyzed, but I don't see that they're real. You know, when you look at the footage, you know, you can see through their heads, and they just look like they're superimposed on the footage because they're making this virtual reality computer program for us.
Yeah, that's
you look at Trump, he's always swaying from side to side. You have football games like that where they turn round and they do things. We saw it in the Watts case, didn't we, Amy? Where they made Chris Watts turn round just like he was a footballer in a game.
Yeah, like virtual reality. Yeah, but I've been signing petitions against to investigate the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and then I just thought to myself, they really have their hands in everything. And then about a half hour later, I saw this video that this lady had put together. She does a lot of research, and she really, gets all her facts together, and she made an outline of all the things that he, is involved in. And even his mother was, she was a very conniving businesswoman with no scruples or anything. And evidently, Bill Gates stole the work of Stephen Jobs and one other person, and he actually stole their work and put it out as his own.
Do you know, I think, Amy, it's even worse than that, because I think we're run by a few computer programs that were made last year or the year before.
Yes.
Cool. John, are you on the move?
What's that?
Are you moving?
Am I moving? No, there was a plane flying over.
Oh, wow. What's happening? Okay, sorry about that, yeah.
But, the whole Planned Parenthood thing is really just the brainchild of the Nazi-esque eugenics program. And, of course, better name for Planned Parenthood would be Operation Kill All the Babies, right? Because that's all they do. They don't actually help people to plan for parenthood. Really the only thing they do is
they steal our children. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And so when you transfer that to Bill Gates, and we've all seen the speeches that he makes about vaccines and how if we do vaccines right, we can decrease the population over the next 20 years. And so it's pretty obvious that these people they're playing roles. And to be really honest with you guys, I'm fairly well convinced, and I can provide links to some videos. I'm fairly well convinced that Bill Gates is actually a transgendered, female to male transgender. As crazy as that sounds, there's a channel on YouTube. They haven't posted in quite a while, but the channel name is Wake Up Before Christ Returns, I think. And they did a really great transvestigation on Bill Gates. And I got to tell you, he may be I guess what would be Billina Gates. I don't know.
Yeah, I just heard something about that, John, about that he may be transgender.
Well, do you know what? Dave Murphy put a video out the other day, and it's on Unscrambled. And in it, he was saying, look at the pictures of his wife. Like, his wife was changing quite a lot. And then some of the pictures, she had man hands. So that wife was a man.
Yeah. She's so much bigger than him. Somebody made a comment on a video. It made me laugh. They said, boy, her head is like twice the size of his. It just made me laugh because it really is. It just struck me funny.
And there's lots of different ways that you can look into that. But one thing or another doesn't really prove anything. But when you start looking at, first you have to really study human anatomy and the differences between male and female skeletal structures is the big thing. Because no matter how much plastic surgery you do, and no matter how much
also, John, I don't mean to be biggest here or anything, but women can play men better than men play women.
Yeah, well, I mean, I tend to agree because, honestly, until fairly recently, maybe a couple of years ago, I had no idea that there was even such a thing as a. Now, I just want to be clear, I don't necessarily have anything against transgenders, but what I do have them against is people that are deceiving people with it. So, I don't know. To me, it's a psychological operation. And
a bit like telling us that we've gone to the moon and that we're in space, when actually, I've got footage out which shows the opposite. Mind control, making you believe something is real. And do you know what that does? It takes your freedom away. Because you're believing a reality that doesn't exist.
That's right.
That's what they've got us into. The whole of our reality doesn't exist.
Yeah, and to give you an example of like just how far this can go, like I forget the name. There's an MMA fighter, a quote unquote female mixed martial arts fighter who is actually a man, right? But the man has transgendered himself, so a woman is going into the fighting ring, just beating the crap out of all the women. And when it finally was revealed that it's not actually a woman, then of course, what do? You can't just you can't insult them or hurt their feelings, right? Because it might hurt their feelings if you don't let the dude beat all women in the ring. I mean, to me, that is really the limit of how that sort of deception. That's what gets me. And so another big one was the whole. Oh gosh, what was his name? Brett Kavanaugh and Christine Blasey Ford thing. So,
Yeah.
so it's the deception. I mean, people can do whatever they want to do with their bodies, but when they are put on a pedestal and given a loudspeaker over the mass media to deceive people, that's what gets me. And so Bill Gates, if he actually is a woman,
we've been
then
deceived right now, though, haven't we? By making us believe there's a pandemic when it's a planademic.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And, I used to have a lot of respect for Bill Gates when I was still a sleeping sheeple. But over time, when you start to realize sort of what they're all about and where he comes from, it really makes you second guess what we were led to believe, right?
Right. I kind of had respect for him too, way back when, and I know that my family, they used to say, that the Rockefellers were, they had all that money, but oh, God bless them, they put, into all these charities, when in reality, what they did was took over the entire medical system and made it for the worst, because they don't allow any kind of alternative medicine for things. They just want to push the big pharma and all of their medications and poisonous treatments, and so really they are anything but a philanthropist. But my family, way back 20 years ago or so, they would say, look at the Rockefellers, they put so much money into philanthropy, but really it's not. It's under the guise of it. They say they're a philanthropist, but really it's all about they want to control everything, and I think they've ruined the medical industry.
Well, and really, if you think about it, if they're just creating money out of thin air, it's pretend monopoly money. Giving that away freely isn't really being a philanthropist. That would be like me writing on a piece of paper $1 million, and I hand that piece of paper to a charity, and now I'm a philanthropist. I mean, that's basically the extent of it.
Thing is, whenever you look at this stuff, there's always layer upon layer, and it's the matrix of lies, isn't it?
Oh, it is.
I don't even know how they think it up. Just the thought of it all gives me a headache.
I know.
Yeah. Well, one thing, though, that I will say, and this is evidence to something I posited a few minutes ago, like my mom, for example, like I'm trying to get her awake on certain things for years, and she really did. I mean, it's not that she didn't believe me, or I'm sure she thought I was a bit crazy, but she just didn't want to look into it, didn't care, and was just perfectly happy being, asleep. Now, when this whole COVID thing happened, I've actually had a few several hour-long conversations with my mother about truther stuff, and, my mom's waking up. So to me, that's evidence that, I think that this thing, even though it is sort of a frenzied attempt to control people, I think just as the devil's plans always do, backfires, right? So that's sort of what I'm seeing.
We've just got to have something big happening to us every so many months or every so many years. I don't think a lot of us have even forgotten 9/11 and everything. It didn't make us a nicer people, though, did it? You'd have thought with all that, they would have brought everybody together, but it didn't. But that's not what they want. They want us separate. They don't want us connecting with each other. They don't even want us what is it, a couple of people together for the rest of your life almost.
Right.
I mean, and look at all of the draconian laws that have been put into place since 9/11, like the Patriot Act, for example.
Yeah, we got something similar.
Right. So even though people caught them, like people know what they did, they haven't repealed any of that stuff. It's still in effect, and you would think that once everybody sort of realized, okay, there's something up with 9/11, they're probably lying, the Iraq War was a sham, even still, nobody's gone back and repealed any of the laws, and in fact, now we even have more of them. So
that's right. Yes. Oh, that Patriot Act, that couldn't be a bigger misnomer. They call it Patriot Act, but it's, all the
through that one, though,
measures.
right, people were told, weren't they, that they need to, in a lot of the films, obviously you won't be able to find them now, but they make the problem happen, and then they tell you what you think you need, but they're only telling you what they want you to have. And you go, yes,
exactly.
Please, give me the jab, whatever it is. And maybe that stayed in people's minds a little bit. You can only fool the people so many times, can't you? You can fool them once,
right.
maybe twice. But you can't fool.
Right, you can fool some of the people all the time and all the people some of the time, but not all the people all the time. What's scary to me, though, or not scary, but it's, I guess, interesting, is that, they could potentially start comboing these things. So, like, for example, part of the Patriot Act is that they can, if you're charged as a quote-unquote terrorist, even as an American citizen, a domestic terrorist, they can arrest you and detain you without charges and without a trial, and they can hold you indefinitely without even.
Do you mean that, or do you mean alien? The word I saw today being used was alien.
No, it's even for American citizens. That's the thing about the Patriot Act. If you're charged as a terrorist, then you no longer have any of your rights as a citizen. Now, here's what's interesting to me is let's just say 500 people get together for a convention against the wishes of the government. Who's to stop them from labeling them all as domestic terrorists? Because see, the language in the Patriot Act is very vague. It doesn't really give a clear definition as to what a terrorist is. They can just call you a terrorist, and therefore you're a terrorist. So that's something to be on the lookout for, because that's how they roll. They'll slowly implement things like the Patriot Act, and then like this whole social distancing.
Do you know what though, John?
Next thing you know,
do you know what? The people, I watched one yesterday where basically this woman had been arrested, and basically they took a petition to the officer who did it, obviously to take the arrest off. And they're outside the house and they're questioning the police officer, and he's sort of saying, I'm not against you, you should be with us. You're against us, not with us.
Yes.
So people, there's a lot of these little things starting to happen now. There's something happening in London this weekend,
Yeah, you're having a protest in London, right?
Yeah, just after what John
Saturday.
said. Sounds good, doesn't it?
Yes. With the protest that they had in California,
it's going to be interesting to see, isn't it? Are 10 people going to turn up, 20 people, or hundreds or thousands going to turn up?
I think you're going to have a lot of people, because I'm in that Event 202 and Facebook group, and it's, ways to go against the pandemic, and people from England were saying we need to start having some protests here. So I let the people know, Karen, that they're having the protest in London. It's a big deal, and I put a link to your video where you're explaining it, so that they can know to attend it if they can. But in California, the police were set up at the protest. They were set up it looked like a police. They had all their gear, their black stuff all over their faces and all the black masks and so forth. And a Marine took the megaphone and he addressed the police. He said, "You need to stop following orders." He said, "As a Marine, we didn't follow every single order. We thought about it. And if it went against what our gut was telling us was right, we didn't follow that order."
Yeah, is this about... Sorry, Amy. Is this about those marshals that have decided not to go with the government line?
Yeah, well, that's another thing. In certain states, sheriffs are saying that they just can't be enforcing.
Cool. 1 second. John, what are you doing? Whoa!
Oh, I'm lighting me a cigarette.
They're landing on your house!
But yeah, they said that this one sheriff, I forget where he was from, but it might have been Kansas, but it could have been somewhere else. But he said he's getting these phone calls where people are saying, "Oh, my neighbor has 3 cars in their driveway, and they usually only have 2, so they must have extra people over there. You need to go and investigate that." And he said he's just done with that kind of stuff. He said, he's not going to somebody's house to see who's there and how many people. He was like an older man, but he spoke with a lot of sense. And a lot of people are saying that we really just need to pray for the police officers that they'll be moved in the right direction to not just enforce all these crazy orders. And if even that pastor that had all the police at his church service, he said we just need to pray for these police. But he had said, if you had told me, the pastor said, if you had told me a year ago that, I wouldn't even be able to have my church service, I would have told you were crazy. Just like you were saying, John, like 6 months ago, we just said, oh, that would be crazy. And the minister was pointing out where he lives in Mississippi. It's the poorest place in Greenville, Mississippi.
My mum's in her 80s, right? And she said, it's like we're at war.
But, it goes to show how powerful the mind control operation that they do is, because something that's unthinkable today, all they have to do is spit out some ridiculous narrative on the waves, and people will be begging for them to implement these things. And, speaking of the police officers, though, they take an oath to uphold and protect the Constitution. Right.
Yes.
And so if they're going to go around arresting people because they're going to church, I mean, to me, I just, the idiocy most police officers is really obvious. But, it's just so ironic that the people that are supposed to be protecting the Constitution are literally burning it and pissing on its grave.
Exactly.
I don't think there is anything called that at the moment, because the state of emergency now has taken over and the laws are all different. So you don't even have what you think you've got. Plus we're a commodity. We're not human beings. Not in their eyes.
In their eyes, that's right. But the Marine was telling the police that about, you have sworn an oath to the Constitution. He said, just like I did in the Marine Corps. And, and the cops did kind of back down then. But then a certain channel that I watched, the man found a flyer somebody had put out because he said that now you can't go to Costco unless you're wearing a mask, and all the employees have to wear a mask. But the only way you don't have to wear a mask is if you're 2 years old and under, or if you have an underlying medical condition. So this man found a flyer, and I downloaded it, and it said, "I do not have to wear a mask. I have a medical condition," or something like that, "but you have no right to know what it is under the AMA and the HIPAA laws, and businesses can be fined like $75,000 for violating my rights." And he said, "Don't wear your mask. Go to the store and give the people this document." And that's about what I would be ready to do. Because I haven't even gone I don't go places much anywhere, but now with all this in our state, we can face $1,000 fine for not having a mask, and I refuse to put that mask on. And my daughter, she refused. But she did
I
have a
find
bandana.
those things insulting when people coming towards
I
me
agree.
with a mask on. Like,
yes.
whoa, you think you're frightened? I mean, they think they're frightened of. Yeah, the fear is the other way round, but I just find it so insulting.
I agree. I do too. They're and they make you
So
guilty.
they think
say,
if you haven't got a mask on, you're some kind of animal.
Yes. They said that you want to kill people.
Yes.
You don't care if you kill people and things like that.
You know, the thing is, though, guys, I did some research on it, and in the United States, it's something like 5,000 or 6,000 people die every year from choking on food. So I think it's pretty important. We should probably make food illegal, because it's very dangerous, and people could hurt themselves. And so I think it would be in their best interest if they don't eat anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Or cars. People are killed in car accidents. And
for that matter, people drown all the time. So I think water should be illegal too.
That's
right. Yes, we might drown in our glass of water. John, excuse me, my dog's barking in the background. Floss! Are you excited about the time now? Because there is going to be a lot of change. Do you think that somehow it'll be a spiritual one, or do you think that we'll just end up being the slaves and then we'll just have whatever like the new world thingy bob?
No, what I truly think is that the powers that be are under a great threat, and they know that their time is short. And so what they're doing is they're scrambling to try to regain a foothold or a toehold of control. But again, all they're doing is pissing people off and waking people up. They do have, like I said, they have the media manipulated or controlled, and now they're trying to control people physically meeting. But really, they're just shooting themselves in the foot. I'm excited. It is a little bit scary, but I'm pretty optimistic, and I've got pretty good faith. And so I see them basically self-destructing. This whole bailout thing with stimulus to me is, basically trying to keep the course of the U.S. dollar going as long as they can. And I think they're going to fail. I'm fairly confident, but they're gonna, they're pulling out all the stops. They really are.
Yeah.
Well, they want to keep us totally confused, don't they? So you never know whether you're coming or going. But the strange thing is, I noticed on one of those numbers in the laws that it was about communication, media communication, but they've got us indoors. Well, actually, loads of us have seen them laying the wires.
Yeah.
Whoa, so you're right next to an airport then, or something?
No, I'm sitting out front of my hotel room, and sometimes traffic goes by really loud. It was either that or have the TV on blaring in the background, so I think it's better.
Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of TV, I guess I'm still guilty of, I watch movies. I don't watch, mainstream media, but I do like movies, but it's very frustrating because every time I watch a movie, if it has commercials, it's nothing but, all about the new normal and COVID, and I forget what store it was for, but it was saying how we're all gonna, wear our mask, and we're just gonna be kind to each other and take all the precautions.
Amy, I think you've hit something on the head there a bit, actually. I mean, more or so many people had woken up. Maybe they had to do something because the people were waking up. And once you wake up, you can't go back and pretend it's something else. But right now, if they do it now, before too many people have woken up, the thing everybody's going to start worrying about is the planademic.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they're making rules such as this. It was kind of funny. They said what they want people to do is tip their masks at each other when they go to the store. There used to be a thing, tip your hat. Now you're to tip your mask.
Josh Stone did a good video. Those things on your face, they're muzzles.
Yeah, like a muzzle. Yeah. I just refused to put one, and my daughter used a bandana, and then she even made a paper bag. She saw it in a comedy movie. She took a brown paper bag and cut out eyes and drew these funny eyebrows, and she went to pick up some food, and all the people from the restaurant, you could stand outside and pick up your food. You had to keep your distance and all that and have your mask, but all the people ran from the restaurant and they were peeking out the windows looking at her. It was from this silly movie that she had watched where the girl puts a paper bag on her head and she pretends she's robbing the store.
Yeah. I came across someone in a shop the other day where not only did they have the stupid plastic panels as if that's going to save them, and then she had I wouldn't, trying to explain, it's like a welder's mask. You know how they flip them up and then they flip over their eyes, and she had a see-through plastic version of that, and I'm like, oh my God, she thinks that's going to save her.
Well, and one thing that I've always sort of known, or this is what I believe to be true, as long as I can remember studying this sort of thing, is that, our immune systems are strengthened by catching, viruses or disease or whatever, beating that, and now your immune system is stronger. And by vaccinating and by trying to prevent yourself from getting the cold or whatever, in the long run you're actually hurting your immune system. And so this whole thing to me is so absurd, because the true numbers of here, it's this really is just a common cold. And so
I know, but it's embarrassing, isn't it? It's embarrassing. Every day they're out there Operation, what's the name, 19, out there every day telling us how bad everything is, and it isn't.
Right. Well, did you see that there was a report on mainstream news where they were showing footage of a hospital in New Jersey with all these people on respirators, and it was just crazy busy. But you notice in the background that the nurses are speaking Italian, and it turned out that they were using footage from an Italian hospital and saying that it was the hospital in New Jersey. And when they got caught bold-faced lying, again, they were speaking Italian in the video. I think it was MSNBC. They said, "Oh, it was an error. It was a mistake." But I mean, clearly, how could you make that mistake? How could you have footage of a hospital?
Well, do you know why, John? Do you know why, John? Do you know why? What it is I don't want to say too much because it's a case. I might have even mentioned it to you as this Watts case last year. Whatever they did in that was a prelude to this. They got millions of people if you're not on our side, we'll kill you almost. It made millions of people highly depressed. They were looking at footage that could be 10 years old. The things that were everything was wrong. The police discovery document didn't match up to what they were showing you. There was just, the footage was really weird, and it went on and on. And anyway, Shanann ended up being a man. When I broke it down, that was a man, and so on. And I went against nearly everybody who believed it, but I didn't, because the police gave out everybody's names and addresses, even the witnesses, as if they're going to do that. And, giving out everybody's names and addresses. And then they gave us a footage of the drive, which just was crazy. It was like the worst thing they could have given us. It was the worst spliced together film ever.
Yes.
I think a big part of this agenda, because clearly, there is an agenda for them to pretend that the common cold is the super virus, but I think a big part of this is yet another power grab of American small businesses, homes, and basically just eliminating competition for the big corporation. So, like, for example, mom and pop restaurants that, there may be one or two of them in a town, and that's it. They're not going to be able to, actually, a lot of them didn't survive this. However, the big ones like Taco Bell, the big corporate restaurants, they can weather this.
Yeah, but
right?
that's the weird thing, John, isn't it? Like in England at the moment, in London, Lidl's are open, Sainsbury's are open, Tesco's are open, and practically everything else is closed up.
Well,
Yeah.
You can't buy clothes. You can't buy a house. You can't buy go on holiday.
Yeah, the first sign of this that sort of hit me where it hurts is it's not really that big of a deal, but it was a sign when this whole thing first started and the whole social distancing started a few months ago. There was a restaurant here in town that I really like. It's called Old Chicago, and they had really good food. They had certain things that I would just die for. Right? Excellent food. And within about 2 weeks, their menu items started dwindling. Like one in particular was their roasted cauliflower with some special seasonings to die for. But that came off the menu. Several other things did. And the next thing you know, Old Chicago was closed. And so that right there, I know that's kind of trite, but at the same time, that's happening all over the place.
Yes.
So once this thing's all said and done, basically what's going to happen is these small businesses are going to go belly up. People are going to lose their homes. People are going to rely on the government for a handout, and that's just more control for them.
Do you know what, John?
Yes.
Do you know what's really weird, right? I mean, we all knew that something was going to happen, right? But they took us to this totally materialistic world, and we all got debt and all that kind of stuff to chop our legs off now to take us the complete opposite direction. They're evil.
Right.
They're evil.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And the money is only just debt. So the stimulus payments that they're sending out to people, it's not like they're giving anybody anything. What they're doing is they're stealing from our grandchildren, basically.
Yeah. That's right.
And don't forget, you know what? In a few years' time, this could be World War III.
Well, I'm kind of thinking that maybe we're sort of already at World War III. They just don't want to tell us. One of the last things that I remember hearing about on the news as I'm flipping through the channels is that, and maybe you know more details, but I believe the United States was like bombing Iran right before this happened, and Russia was kind of getting heated involved, and China's backing up Russia. Next thing you know, coronavirus, and the whole narrative changed.
Yes. And I saw something yesterday that a channel had put out, Truth Channel, and she was thinking that it's a possibility of a hot war between the United States and China through all of this.
But they're all playing. They all play together. Whatever they show us will be another cartoon.
I believe they do play together, but I also believe the war is very real. And so they will use war as a means to basically regain control, right? So when they see that things are slipping out of their hands, they can foment a war pretty much anywhere. And
well, do you know what I reckon? We either didn't do what they wanted us to do, because although they told us to stay home, they weren't maybe expecting the whole world stayed at home. I didn't. I've been up to London a few times. I've been a right rebel. I've just got on with my life. I've gone to see my boyfriend. But like most, when I'm on the carriage, I just can't believe it. There's just me and one other person. I've got this great big long intercity carriage to myself. It's the most bizarre thing.
Yes.
But
I think they may have kind of expected people to start rioting. I I don't know. Maybe they were
I
expecting
think
certain
they
cities to start
expected
rioting.
some of us to still go to the hospitals.
Yeah.
Right, but see, if people were to start rioting, then they could
Because do you know when
implement
else they
military
did
martial
this?
law.
Do you know when else they did this? They did it in the Iraqi thing, because I started talking. Well, what I did was I wrote to a soldier, a sailor, and a pilot, and the pilot wrote back, and he was part of a squadron, and he was in Chibuk in Turkey, and he Watto, and they all signed it, and it was nice. It was very nice. I didn't hear anything from a sailor, but a soldier wrote to me, and he was standing in all these tents for the people when they, in the war, and they never used them.
Well,
But in the Iraqi
Yeah,
war,
I
they never
remember
used
that.
the tents. It was over in a day or two,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
well, the same thing happened here with the COVID thing. I want to say it was in Chicago, but it was a big city where the military put up a temporary, it was like 2,000 bed hospital, and they had it up for several weeks, and they never saw one single patient, and so the military ended up just shutting it down. Now, when that happened, you would think that some of the people would be like, wow, so it's not really as big of a deal as they're making it out to believe it is. But no, I mean, people just believe whatever they say on the news, and even if there's piles of contradictory evidence, they said it on the news, so it must be true either way.
Exactly.
It's scary.
That's why I try to convince people, please don't watch your mainstream media. Go on YouTube. There's good truth channels. And then people will say, well, how do you know you can believe them? I said, well, because a lot of them you can tell because they'll put the evidence. They do their research.
Amy, John's a truth channel.
I know, that's right.
I agree with everything you said, but I would say my best advice to them would be to use your brain, right? Don't believe anything. Don't believe anything anyone says. Take in the information, look at both sides of it, and use your brain. Now,
that's the best. Yes.
What these people are doing, though, especially the social media networks, is they are preventing that discussion. They're preventing us from seeing both sides of it, so that we can use our discernment.
Yeah, we're only seeing the side they want us to see.
Exactly.
Right. And if you have views or conversations like we're having right now, they're going to basically ensure that as few people see it as possible. Whereas, a couple years ago, you could do a hangout like this, and if it was good, you could get tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of hits on it. Nowadays anymore, good luck, because if you don't get shut down altogether, they just make sure that even your own subscriber base doesn't see it somehow.
Yeah.
And so, in that effect, they have shut down our ability to reason. You have to have information to reason. Even if you don't like the information, it's still information that you need to consider.
Exactly.
And so it's very dangerous when they're even shutting down doctors with good sense and statistics and scientific evidence to back up what they're saying. When they're shutting them down, so we basically are losing our ability to reason and discern as a society, and that's probably the scariest part of it.
Hey, John,
that's right.
You're uploading a video to your channel. What's it called?
Indeed, I am. The video is going to be called Sea Curve Level Equals Ball Earth Sun.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's like a response to, well, you'll see it, but I won't describe it too much, but to encapsulate, basically what the Globe Earthers' MO is they'll take a valid flat Earth argument and point, and they will completely misunderstand those points and set up a straw man argument in the effigy of that argument, and then destroy that and pretend like they have disproven something.
A narcissist, then. Carry on.
Well, I probably do a better job of explaining it in this video, but in this case, it's funny to me how when you disprove a globe earther and you make valid points, they will completely ignore the spirit of what you're saying and then attack other like fictitious thing that you were never
Yeah, they
really
attack
talking
you.
about.
They don't attack what you're saying. They go personally for you.
Yeah.
Well, so here's the long and short of this. Will make more sense. So, you remember the high altitude weather balloon footage, like the Felix Baumgartner Red Bull jump, where you can see the beautiful, glorious curvature of the Earth from about 20 miles up, and all of the globe earthers would point to that and say, "See, there's the curvature. The Earth's a ball." But when we send up our own weather balloons without fisheye lenses, that drastic and really pronounced curvature doesn't exist. And so the flat earthers are saying, well, this proves that the globe earthers were inventing or fabricating Earth curvature, right? So that was the point. The whole point was like, no, these fisheye lens footages do not prove the Earth's curved. Now, what the globe earthers do is they flip it around. They say, flat earthers are claiming that the high altitude weather balloon footage proves flat Earth. And there's a distinction to be made there, and it'll make more sense in
It's
this video.
just
But,
crazy because you don't see any water or anything, and people think that they're seeing the curve of the Earth, not the bending of the camera.
Yes.
And it's so typical of them because clearly they're
Why
not
would
going
they
to win
make
any.
something like that? Just to confuse everybody.
Yeah.
Well, like the GoPro fisheye lenses.
Hmm.
Well, I honestly, I'd like to slap the guy in the face that invented them. Because first of all, it makes everything look curved. Like even if you're standing on a basketball court, I suppose the basketball court is a sphere, right? And yeah, whoever invented the GoPro fisheye lens deal probably needs to be slapped. But yeah, it's amazing to me how how the globe earthers will lose an argument, and instead of conceding that they've lost, they will change the spirit of the argument into something that they can win. It's brilliant. But when you see the video, it'll be up later. It'll make more sense. But it's ironic to me, bitter irony.
Do you know what?
that
Me, myself, I like the awake people. I don't really like arguing. I don't really like the banter. You know, sometimes I do it, you know, I flat smack someone on the telephone or want to tell them, you know, whatever truths there are. But I like the awake people.
I know.
Yeah, I mean,
it's much easier.
It can be interesting. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, just to say very quickly, sorry, Amy. John and I have known each other for a few good years. We don't argue about anything. We have respect for each other, and you know, we don't agree on everything. We see things a little bit differently, but our comradeship is what works. And
yes. That's right. I was talking to a girlfriend of mine, maybe last week she called me, and I know she is very, you know, asleep. She watches all the mainstream, especially CNN and MSNBC, which are some of the worst. And I didn't bring up the coronavirus, but she did, and I couldn't just get along with her, you know, and she is a good friend, but we don't agree on things, but I had to tell her.
Amy, let me ask you a question. Do you ever watch Tucker Carlson? I think he's on Fox now.
Yes, I have watched him.
He's okay. In the last few weeks, he's put out some really dynamite exposés, and you know, honestly, I'm not big into mainstream media, but I've always liked Tucker Carlson. I think he's funny. He's got good personality. And so if he was to show her some of the things that Tucker Carlson's put out in the last few weeks, it might score some points because he does a real good job, and he's on the mainstream, so he must be telling the truth. You know.
Yes. That's a good point. Only thing is, these people are so they're so left wing. Like, in other words, they're all for the Democrats and thing. And if it's anything that's gonna put up Republican in any positive light at all, they just turn themselves off.
Do you know what I wish people would see it as is, like, I repeat it quite often, but you know, we've had Dallas and Dynasty, we've got EastEnders and Coronation Street here. If you saw them as that, you're halfway there. They're just a soap
Yeah.
opera.
Yeah.
They are set up.
And, I mean,
It's patent place. We're watching it live.
Right.
well, isn't it so funny how, like, somebody may say something that you agree with, but if it turns out that they're on the other side of the aisle, then you sort of have to disagree with them. To me, that's ridiculous. So, like, I don't know, you can't be conservative and support abortion, right? There's no place for you in either one. So you have to pick one, and then you have to either like abortion or get rid of your conservatism. And to me, they're just putting people into these boxes where they're just causing us to fight amongst each other while they are
John,
you know what I mean?
can I say something to that? What it is because of that case, then you end up watching the Crime Watch, whatever they are. And then when you're watching that every day, you can watch them every day and watch a different case about how this person's murdered this person and shot them, whatever's gone on, the horrible things. So if you're watching that, you think, there's thousands and thousands of murderers, but it's not true. We're peaceful people. It's not true. They fed us that we want to kill each other, but we're not. We're peaceful people.
Well, and what's interesting about that is that there were studies done about people who watch, and I do watch those true crime shows sometimes. My wife loves it. She'll watch them all day long.
Oh, my dad was like that, yeah.
People who watch a lot of those true crime shows have a wildly exaggerated estimation of violent crime. So, like, people who never watch those sorts of shows, if you ask them, you know, what do you think the murder rate is, they'll have a wild guess that's much more accurate than the people who watch a lot of true crime shows whose guesstimations are like 10 times higher than the actual truth. And so what that proves, it really demonstrates, is that they're being mind controlled into a state of fear. And when you're in a state of fear, it's very easy to control you in terms of just all sorts of things. That's where they want us.
They did it, didn't they? Because they got everybody buying the toilet paper, or just didn't put enough toilet paper out and withheld it all, but they got us queuing for like hours for toilet paper. But they can change that into we were queuing for food later on when they want to change the story.
It's so funny, but when this stuff first started happening, I was watching a news report on YouTube where they were interviewing people coming out of the grocery store, and there was this woman. She had a shopping cart full of toilet paper, hand sanitizer, and stacks and stacks and stacks of eggs. Cartons of eggs, and the reporter asked her, like, what are you buying and what are you getting it for? And like, well, I'm getting the toilet paper to stock up and the eggs because, you know, we need to stock up the fridge. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, shouldn't you be getting non-perishables? Like, what? Eggs are like the most perishable food you can get. I don't know. It was just funny to me.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, and you don't know if that footage was yesterday, last year, 5 years ago, on top of that, by the way.
Right.
That very reason that you said, you know, like they took that hospital and they said that it was in New York, but it wasn't, it was in Italy. But I think it's because they've been allowed to get away with it.
Right, I mean, I've worked in positions where, you know, we put together media or whatever, and if you make a mistake like that, you're fired, right? But you know, big mainstream news media outlet, they're going to make a huge mistake like that, and whoopsie.
But you know what, I know that you've gone through some things lately, in the last couple of years, John. But when we looked at that case, right? It meant that the police were involved in it, the judges, the courtrooms, the prisons, the media, the politics. They're all in on it. They're all they're in on it together.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, of course, the media, the whole right to a free press was put into place so that the people could actually investigate freely the government and expose corruption. That's the whole reason for the right to free press. Now anymore, of course, the media is merely a mouthpiece for the government. And so, but people don't see it that way. People still think that, you know, both MSNBC and Fox are telling the truth. even though they may disagree on certain minor things, MSNBC and Fox are pushing the exact same narrative.
Fox News has gone into like mega meltdown with that guy sitting there looking like he's having a nervous breakdown where they're telling him and stuff. It's like, we're saying we understand the hospitals are empty, but something's wrong here. That's what Fox News is saying at the moment. We know there's something wrong.
Yeah, yep. And, and Tucker Carlson was talking a lot about that,
except
too.
It's not mainstream. It's not mainstream. So we've heard it on Fox, but it's not like all the other ones are saying, hey, Fox is saying this. No one's talking about it.
They are kind of, I always felt like out of all of them, I prefer to watch Fox over definitely CNN or MSNBC. I feel like even though Fox is controlled too, but I guess I don't think they're tell as many lies, if that makes sense.
I just wasn't sure, Amy, whether it was around Dean or on 125 now, and actually they've now put that out. I wasn't sure if the actual guy interviewing was actually the truth. You know, it was all staged again.
Yeah, you just don't know. That's the thing. You know, you don't know if it's staged or not. You have to be careful on both sides, you know, but they might be staging. But my friend, you know, that I was telling you about, she is a devout Christian. I mean, she really loves the Lord and the Bible. And I tried to tell her a while back, because she was saying how much she couldn't stand Trump, and she was, because I think they do actually tell lies about him on CNN. Like, they will take him real out of context. They don't give him any chance. And I said, look, you got to give Trump a chance. And it took my nerve to say that, because I like to just agree with people, especially my friends, when I'm talking. I don't want to get in a debate. But I told her that, and I said, you know, I've been a Republican. I was always Republican registered. So, because they're against abortion. They're against, you know, platform is far more moral than the Democrat platform. And I tried to explain that to her, but she listened, very nice. She said, this is great that we can talk like this together, and I agree. But then, you know, as soon as the midterms came up and the Democrats took the House, she couldn't wait to tell me, well, the Democrats won the House. I said, well, the Republicans took the Senate. But I'm like, I don't even want to talk about it.
I think on the important things, though, that there is no difference. Like, case in point, the Bush-Iraq war, you know, started with Bush, and then it was passed over to Obama, who really, I believe he campaigned and won because he was campaigning on ending the war, and really all he did was accelerate it and amplify it. And so that really goes to show you that it doesn't matter which side we have. I mean, it's two wings of the same beast.
And that's
it's like asking the sheep, would you prefer to be eaten by the lions, or would you prefer to be eaten by the wolves? You know,
but that's even if any of it was real in the first place.
Exactly.
Right. If they're even counting your votes, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's real in the newspapers and on the television, but it wasn't real. It's just all. Anyway. I'm just hoping that something good happens, because.
Me too.
Really, my fear is just I don't like what's coming then, any of it.
Yeah, they're putting the clamps down for something. They want to keep people in place for some reason. They don't want us gathering, and certainly they don't want us sharing information if it goes against their narrative. And so they have the digital media pretty well monopolized.
Do you think this is a prelude,
it was just
John?
the next step for them to take away our right to assemble.
Our right, yes.
Do you think this is a prelude? Like, oh, there's something else waiting in the wing for us. Instead, it's coming. We're not there yet. It's not over.
It may be the calm before the storm. It may be, but I don't know. But basically, the way that I see it is they're not planning on things going back to normal. They're planning on keeping things pretty much like this forever. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Oh, I was watching a video last night that somebody had sent me. It was called Plandemic. I forget the exact title, but it was on a certain channel. So I was watching the video, got halfway through, and all of a sudden it started going all crazy. And next thing you knew, the video was pulled. And it was interviewing a lady doctor. I can never think of her name off the top of my head, but she has really been through it with Fauci and everything. And she's had was in jail for a while, and she had a gag order, and because she has worked with Fauci for many years, and she had all kind of information about the kind of stuff that he did. And so people were saying, hurry up and watch this video because it's going to get pulled. And it had 1 million views. And I was halfway through, and they did take it down. But fortunately, another channel had mirrored it. So I was able to finish watching it. But this doctor is a lady doctor. I can't ever remember her name, but she has just been speaking out against Fauci because she's known him for many years. And he has done some really, crooked things. And so, but my point is, like, they will just pull these videos, and people in the comment section were saying YouTube had better not pull this, or we'll know they have an agenda. And maybe 15 minutes later they pulled it. And my theory is, when they pull videos like that, then I feel like that's just a red flag that we were listening to the truth and you didn't want us to hear it, so you took it down. That's how I see it. If you're going to pull something like that, that means you are.
But you know what, though, it is like that, Amy, because Google are the ball, and they now run YouTube.
Yes, and when people were saying, in the comment section, they were saying, YouTube better not pull this down. A lot of people replied and said, well, Google owns YouTube, so don't get too hopeful. And then sure enough, a couple of minutes later, there it went. So
it is frustrating because there's nowhere to go. There's no one to complain to. We've got to somehow do this ourselves.
And they don't even have to pull the videos anymore, because I know that when I'm looking through YouTube trying to find something to watch, I get suggested everything from channels that I've never heard of, topics that I would never be interested in.
Yes.
I literally have to hunt and peck one by one through the channels that I do subscribe to.
None of them are anything to do with what you were looking up either.
Same here.
But it's very difficult to even get to get feeds from channels that I'm subscribed to.
Yeah, mine's the same way.
Yeah, and so
maybe we're using Google. Maybe we need to go and use a different platform.
Well, we do. We absolutely do. But it can't just be you and I. It has to be everybody, because YouTube, in terms of competition for streaming sites, there is no competition. YouTube is by far and away the big one. And so even if me and all my friends decide to move to another platform, the information's not going to get out to anyone until everybody does. And what made YouTube so popular was the fact that you could easily and freely find whatever you wanted to watch. And they've taken away the best thing about their site. So I do think it's a matter of time before they go belly up. But who knows? I mean,
yes.
We still keep plodding on, sharing the truth.
Yeah, we must.
Talking about it.
That's
so
right.
when talking to you, John, part of me thinks that this thing that's going on is irrelevant and you're just getting on with your life.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it hasn't changed my day-to-day life too much. I mean, well, in terms of getting work and stuff, it has changed. There's not as much work. There's not as much apparent freedom. Like I said, if I wanted to go shoot a game of pool, I can't. So it's not even an option, even whether or not I normally would have done it anyway. It is nice to know that you have those options. And so basically, they're putting us in a smaller and smaller box, and they're giving us our outlet to reality is something that's controlled by them. It's the internet. And exactly. So that's why I think it's really important that we're able to get together in person.
In a state of emergency,
that's now illegal too.
In a state of emergency, they run the media, the internet, the whole thing. They're in control of it all.
Did y'all hear Bill Gates? He made a comment that maybe in a couple of months things will get back to normal, but if you want to go out to a baseball game, you have to have your badge that you got your vaccination. And,
yes.
To me, first of all, who the hell is this guy? Right? He was a computer salesman, a software salesman, and now he's giving advice to her.
Is the push so strong because we didn't go to the hospitals and it's not enough of us going to the hospitals. They've got to push us to go to the hospitals, but just pray everybody stays at home.
Well, no, they were banking on no one going to the hospital because, listen, if you believe that there is a deadly virus out there killing people, the last place you want to go is to the hospital. Yeah, but we've been going,
haven't we? As I say, you have to wait 4 to 6 hours to see a doctor at casualty because there's so many people there. Yet now, suddenly, you could go straight in.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yep. You're damn right. That's exactly right.
Yeah, I mean, here in America, it's the same way. I mean, the waiting rooms are horrible. And my dad, he was recently ill, and he passed in December, but we were having to take him to that. And, it was just the amount of people that you would see in these waiting rooms. I mean, it was packed. And I do find it very strange that there's this, they're empty, because there's other conditions that could send people, to the hospital. But I guess they want to avoid, like you said, you wouldn't want to go to a place that's got germs.
Right, and so that was sort of their hedge that they could basically say whatever the hell they wanted because who was going to go check? But in fact, a lot of people did. A lot of people did go check, and lo and behold, the hospitals were dead. So
that's right.
Wow.
But at the beginning of the whole thing, back in early March, a friend of mine, she went to the hospital because she had to meet her dad there. He was coming by an ambulance, and she said that she wore all this gear. She put goggles, and she put gloves, and she put a mask, and they made her take that all off. They said she was scaring the other patients. And then while she was waiting for her dad, a couple came in. They were from another country, and they asked if they could get the test for the virus, and they had to explain for half an hour why they wanted the test. And they said, well, they thought they had been in contact with somebody that had it, but they were denied the test anyway because they said, well, you don't have any symptoms. But my point is, she's a believer in, mainstream media and all that, but she said, I'm so confused when you think I did the right thing wearing all my gear and...
Well, I think it's disgusting what they've done.
I think so, too.
Did you guys know? You probably do, but for every COVID patient that the hospital diagnoses,
they get money.
$13,000 per patient, and if they put them on a respirator, they get $40,000 per patient.
I saw that.
So, I mean, now hang a minute. How does that make any sense? Really, $40,000 to put someone on a respirator? That to me, and then I've worked in the medical industry before. Years ago, the United States government was rolling out what's called electronic health records. So basically, small doctors' offices, what I dealt with, a lot of them kept paper charts. They didn't have anything on their computers. It was all kept on paper. And what was happening is the federal government was mandating that if these doctors' offices wanted to continue participating in Medicare, Medicaid, they had to switch over to electronic health records. And so in order to help these doctors' offices implement EHR, they were literally giving them $45,000 per doctor just to select and implement an electronic health record. So that was the start. I believe that was the start of this. It was so that they could conglomerate data and basically fudge numbers without anyone really being any wiser.
They've been doing exactly what they wanted to do all along.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes, and they're really pushing for all this doctor's appointments over the phone, and or not over the phone, but like when the like FaceTiming.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Can I just say though? Do you know what that right? I mean, there are times where you think, oh, I've got to go to the doctor. I've got to sit in that waiting room. I don't feel very good. I've just given everybody it.
I know.
It is better, I think, most of the time. A 111 doctor can find your results 20,000 times faster than your doctor. It could save lives.
Yeah, I
don't like any of what they're doing, but that one I do, because if you're not very well, why would you want to go and sit in a doctor's room?
I know. I get that too. I hate the doctor. I very rarely go, but I do feel like
don't ever go if you can manage it.
I know, seriously, but like I just think is how can they do your blood pressure or something? I guess they have a way, but it's nice to be able to just do it over the phone. Although it does get a little glitchy. I had to do it. The sister had to do it today. It gets glitchy with the links. Sometimes it's not the most as smooth as you would like it to go. But I think part of the agenda too is they want all this everything done through the computer, so that it's just another way to kind of track the people and have more control over them.
It really is. Now, the way that they sold it to the doctors, one of the big ways is that they would have real-time surveillance data. And what they mean by surveillance data is they can track outbreaks of certain diseases, they can track symptoms, they can track all sorts of things across the entire population as opposed to one office individually. So that's how they sold it. So there are benefits to this, but really what they did with this whole EHR implementation thing is they bypassed doctor-patient privilege. So basically, they can look into your records without your permission, without your doctor's permission, and nobody will ever even know it. Now, they say, oh, well, it's just a number, it's not your personal information, but in fact, yes, they can access that too. And so, they have been chipping away at all of our rights for years, and I don't know how much more rights do we actually have that they can take. I don't think we have many.
That's right. Well, the next thing I had heard a while ago that they were thinking of having people, if they would need, the police would need to come into your home and stay or something like that. And that's against our fourth, is it the fourth or third? I think it's the Third Amendment that was against quartering soldiers.
Well, I'm telling you, I almost went to jail not that long ago for sitting out front of my room and playing my guitar, and a few people was standing around listening to me. Like, we literally almost went to jail for that.
Yes.
I mean, to me, that's absurd.
It is. It's absolutely absurd.
Do you know what this thing about lockdown's about? It's about not allowing anything nice to happen. Unless when you're locked in that house, everybody gets on really well and you have a great time that way. But for most people, they won't. It'll be a really miserable time being locked inside with those people. So they just want you to, I think they want you to have a miserable time.
It's been admitted by the likes of Zuckerberg and others that these social media networks actually isolate us more and more the more that we use them, and they're addictive. And so by forcing us to not come together in person, they're forcing us deeper into this social media quagmire. And that's exactly where they want us. They want us to where all that we see and hear is controlled by them. They don't want us discussing things. They don't want dissent. They don't want
you can't be an individual, and you're not allowed to think for yourself.
That's right. And like I said, when I watch a movie here or there, and I see these commercials, and they drive me crazy, preaching the whole COVID thing, and I hate the line where they say, "Let's stay in together," and we got a TV guide, and it said, here's all the wonderful programs that you can watch while you're, locked in together, or whatever they did, or it says, but it's like their goal is to just have us just tuned in to our television all the time, or other social media things. But I've been telling people you can use this time instead of watching Netflix or whatever to do your own research.
Yeah, because you think you're being given a choice, but you're not being given any choices. You're just being funneled.
Right. Yeah.
Well, but and things are different now too. So, like we said before, if let's just say you're still sleeple sheeple, and you decide you want to research flat Earth. Well, now, even if you type in the exact name of the video and the name of the channel that you're looking for, if it's worth a shit, excuse my language, you're not going to find it.
Right.
So it is harder now for people to come across good information, and the misinformation has just exploded. Flat Earth exploded when it first came out. Now it's the misinformation that explodes.
Do you know what's so annoying, John? John, do you know what's so annoying?
It is.
As truthers, which includes a lot of different things, we've tried to be honest and open with everybody, but we'll probably have to go underground or something. Ooh.
Yeah. And even with the churches in, I believe it's in Kansas City, Missouri, the pastors have to register all of their parishioners with the government. Now, that's what they used to do in the Soviet Union. So the churches had to go underground, because if you went to the regular Russian Orthodox Church, they were controlled by the state.
Yeah, and do you know what? All those stories everybody's listened to about how terrible the Russians got it, but actually the people didn't notice. They did exactly the same to us. They just did it a bit differently. That's all.
Yeah, they're using the slow boil. That's how they do it. It's the totalitarian tiptoe. They put you in the nice lukewarm water, and they slowly turn up the heat, and they'll turn it up a little more. Next thing you know, you're boiling, and there's really no way out.
Do you know how they do it? Do you know how they do it? And I hate it. It's a bit like the train is travelling 100 miles an hour, and you're always trying to get on in the last door. When the train is gone, it's gone past, and you're still trying to get on it, but it's gone. What I mean is there's not much you can do, because everything they've wanted or needed, they've done it already before. And when you spot it, you're too late to change anything.
Exactly.
Right. Well, that's right. And as long as 90% of the people never spot it, they really don't care about us 10% who do, because they're going to push their agenda through without much dissent. And any dissent that there is, they just blackball it and shadow ban it. So, I mean, they do have a pretty good game on lock. But, at the end of the day, again, I do see this as the beast system's death throes, and they're getting desperate. So, maybe in that sense,
I know. Do you know what? Like John, I've told Amy all this stuff, but when they're standing there doing ours, it looks like they're workmen. They've got this tape all around the platforms. It's like warning, and it's like, it looks like they're road workmen or something.
Yes. And people are very compliant about not crossing, those lines or anything. They're very, very compliant. I feel like that the masterminds are just laughing at us, how much we've been compliant.
Honestly, I'm going to be compliant as well, because, frankly, I've been arrested, I've been to jail, and it ain't no picnic. And I certainly don't want to go through that over something as silly as, I don't know, going and have a barbecue at the park with some friends. I mean, it would be nice, but I don't think it's worth it. Maybe what does that say about me?
Can I tell you something? Can I tell you something? I've been up to London a few times, and I don't know, people, including my boyfriend, were a bit worried. Like, no, you can't hang around. No, the police, they'll want to arrest you. And honestly, when you're there, the over the antenna comes. And there better be nobody here unless you're helping the national health or something critical. Otherwise, stay home. And then there's all that going on, and then there's nobody nobody on the carriages, nobody at the station. Like, keep your head down, just keep walking. There was nobody there. There's nobody on the trains. You don't even have to buy the ticket because there's nobody there.
Well, maybe I'm wrong, but I tend to get the impression that the bobbies over there are a little bit sweeter and nicer than the pigs over here. So if we went to a city with 50 people and we're doing something, they wouldn't come out with a loudspeaker bullhorns telling us to leave. They would literally, start pepper spraying people and putting them in handcuffs. So, I mean,
right.
It's a little different.
I think the police are the same in every country, roughly, because I think, say you were going, I'm a damsel in distress and the police, will you come and help me? Well, they'll be one way. But if they actually want you for something or they think they can nick you, they're different. They're just different.
Yeah. I've never been over the pond, so I'm just guessing, but I do have experience with the pigs over on this side. And they're not, I hate to use that word, but a lot of them are. And just from what I've seen, man, like, Americans have less rights than most countries.
Hey, I just thought about something. Do you remember Iceland going bankrupt with all the bankers there, and they couldn't fly there for a while because a mountain had to sort of erupt, and it would then stop the blades of the plane going and all that. Do you see what they did? We probably had another reset then as well.
Yeah.
I do remember when Iceland went bankrupt. I forget the details of it, but it had something to do with them like putting all their money into a hedge fund or something, like a Ponzi scheme, and they ended up getting screwed.
Yeah.
Wasn't that it?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
The councils did.
And all the retirees
councils in this country did it. Put money in those bank accounts.
Yeah.
Well, but it does seem to me, I've never been, across the pond either. It does seem like the police here are more, aggressive.
Well, I've watched a few, and the police here don't know how to handle it.
Right.
They're a bit aggressive. Yeah. They're a bit aggressive. They're sort of wading in and, they're looking a bit monster-like. No, I don't think the police look very good. They don't know how to handle it.
But
I don't know. I don't know about over there, but I know here in the United States, and each state is different, but here, for the most part, they screen potential candidates for police officers for intelligence, and you don't have to meet a certain mark. They want you to be a certain amount of stupid before you can qualify to be a police officer. So, like, if you score too high on IQ tests or on sort of like compassion abstract tests, they will disqualify you because you're too compassionate. And
why couldn't they just leave us alone so we could just get on with our lives?
Exactly. Because life is stressful enough. But everything is so stressful, and then they create more. But talking about the police, John, you see this story. It was a couple of years ago, I believe it was in Arizona, and the young man was in the hotel, and he had a gun that it wasn't an actual shotgun. It was a gun he used. He worked for a pest control company, and somebody saw him with the gun at the window, and they called the police. The police came, and the way they treated this man, they made him crawl on the floor, and they were shouting these directions at him, lay on your stomach, now cross your hand this way, cross your hand that way, and just shouting at him with these, huge guns aimed at him, and he made one wrong move, and they shot him, and they killed him. He was named Daniel Shaver, and it was 2 years ago, and they didn't even put that while they had a trial for the policeman that killed this guy, but they didn't show it to the public until after the fact. And so he was really a monster, him and his partner. And I think the partner left and went to another country, and I'm not sure the other guy what he did. But it was, if you watch the video, I got physically sick when I saw it. I mean, it was that bad. And this poor man.
I don't think I've seen that one, but I've seen enough of them to know the feeling. There's a few of them where it's awful. It really is sickening, the amount of violence and force and unnecessary violence and force that they use. So like, if you smoke pot, right, that's illegal in a lot of states, and it was criminal in most states until recently, but there was a time where if you had a little bit of pot in your pocket, that's illegal, right? But it's legal for a man with a badge to beat you up, steal your stuff, kidnap you, strip you down, put you in a cell, and keep you there. That's legal, but having the wrong kind of salad in your pocket is illegal. Now, luckily, these laws are changing a little bit, so the criminal element of pot, at least, is gone. But, people believe they live in a free country and a just country. When there's things like that going on, you need to check your premises.
Exactly. That's right. That's exactly right.
Can I just say I hate ending a good party. It's a bit like a party. We've got on really well today, but we've been on this hangout for an hour and 3/4 now. Did you want to talk for a bit more, or do you think it's roundup time?
Yeah, let's wrap it up. I'm gonna take me a cat nap and just enjoy my coronavirus isolation.
That sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. When we get off this call, I'm gonna start uploading because the Wi-Fi sucks here. If I was uploading now, we would have never completed this call. But I'm gonna start uploading that video. It should be up. Hopefully this evening, maybe tomorrow. It depends on how long it takes.
Can you say your channel again for those that maybe don't know you? Like as a name.
Yeah, the channel is The Morgile, TheMorgile. You may not find it if you search for it, so you might have to dig. And the video that I'm putting out, this is going to be really the first sort of professional video that I've done in a while, because I finally have a decent laptop with my software on there that I can use to, edit and stuff. So hopefully this will be a nice, refreshing video as opposed to my ugly mug just talking in front of my camera. So yeah, hopefully I'll like it.
Hey.
Oh, it sounds great.
Amy, do you want to say anything?
Cool.
Oh, it's been a great hangout, and it's been really great talking with you and with John, and just stay strong and positive, and we just have to take it day at a time. But still, we need to stand up for our rights. I'm not gonna lay down and give up. I'm gonna fight as much as possible, for our rights. It's so important. It's important for our future generations as well, that we at least make some kind of effort to not give in to the losing of our rights. Our forefathers fought too hard.
Thank you for those nice, kind words.
No, thank you.
If I end the hangout now, but we just say goodbye to each other when I've ended the hangout, because I hate it when everybody rushes off. I like to say goodbye. But it's been a great hangout. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Jon The Morgile and Amy.
No, thank you, Claire.
Well, thank you guys for having me. It was a pleasure as always, and love to you guys, love to your viewers, and yeah, we'll do it again for sure sometime soon.
Oh,
yes.
And to the chat room. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.